Hi guys. Hey Deb, can you give me a wave if you can hear me? Good. Okay. Thanks. I think a lot of people didn't realize they needed a password, so we're gonna give everybody a couple of seconds to get all that information, and I'm sharing it as much as I can over our messages. So we'll give it a couple of minutes and then we'll get started. For those of you guys just joining us, if you don't mind, we're gonna be recording this. So if you really don't want your face being shown on a recording, it just goes on our YouTube channel. Then go ahead and close down your video if you're not comfortable with that. Otherwise, we love to see your shining faces. And the other thing is, while we're giving the talk, we're gonna just ask that you mute your microphones, because I see we have quite a few people joining us. So I think it would be chaos if we were all talking at once. But please use that chat function if you guys are familiar with Zoom. At the bottom, there's a little chat button, and you can go ahead and type in some questions, and I'll be moderating that, and hopefully we'll be able to answer all your questions. So give me a couple of seconds to let a few more people know about the password, and we'll get started. Hi from New York. Oh, wow. Houston. Oh, hi, everybody. This is exciting. All right, give me 1 second. Make sure we've got all of our messages answered and all the passwords sent out. Give this a refresh. All right, got a couple more coming in. 1 second. There we go, there's one. Email. Don't want to leave anybody out. Okay. We are almost there, guys. Promise. I don't know if you can hear my dog. He's already whining. All right, one more.
Can you hear me? Hi.
Hi.
Okay, good.
All right. We're almost there. I think I've answered almost everybody. Oh, there's a couple more coming in. Sorry, guys. It's the tough part of having the passwords, but hopefully it makes our meetings go really smoothly. So for those of you who are just joining us, we're gonna just ask that we're gonna be videotaping. So if you really don't wanna have your face kind of show up on our YouTube channel, we're gonna be videoing this meeting. So you can just go ahead and turn your video off. And everybody stay muted, because there's a lot of us joining right now, which is great. We're really excited to have everybody. But if everybody talked at once, it would be really difficult to hear anything. So we're gonna give it one more minute, and then we'll be able to get your questions in the chat function. So if you guys are familiar, at the bottom there, you can actually add a few questions. If you need help typing it, maybe your mom or brother or sister can help you. And then hopefully we'll get to absolutely everybody's questions in the end. I have a couple of you guys that from the Girl Scouts who sent stuff in, which was awesome ahead of time. That'll make it a lot easier. And I think we have everybody has access now. Cool. Okay. Let me switch back over. So hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. I hope everybody's doing really well and are having a great time at home with all your friends and family, and everybody's staying really safe. So I'm just gonna check in over here in our chat, because you guys have already introduced yourself, which is amazing. So we got a group from New York. Hi. Pennsylvania, Troop 33322. What's up, girls? Nice to see you. Texas, oh my gosh, that's amazing. Hi, Lucy from Troop 459. Someone is bringing their dog. That's a big draw these days if you have your dog on video too. Mine will probably make an appearance because he's very loud. All right, so I think you can hear my dog. Yeah, I know. Sorry. Oh, North Carolina, amazing. So if you guys have friends that are wanting to get on and I haven't gotten their message, the password to them yet, you can share the password that I sent you. We just want to make sure this is a nice, safe space for all of us to talk about sharks. So really quickly, my name is Hannah, and I am the president of the American Shark Conservancy, and I'm going to pass it over to Deborah in a couple of seconds, and she's going to talk all about shark parts today. So I just want to say thank you guys so much for joining us, and sit back, relax, learn some cool things about sharks. Type up your questions in the right-hand side, and we'll give you a shout out and try to answer those at the end of the presentation. So I'm going to mute myself, and then we're going to go ahead and hand it over to Deb. Take it away, Deb.
All right, hey everyone, thank you for joining us at the virtual Shark Smart lesson. My name is Deb, and I'm an intern for American Shark Conservancy. We're Jupiter, West Palm, and Boca that we can see sharks and hang out with them. And we work with the dive industry here for a Florida Shark about like shark fishing, what they do, what kind of sharks they get. And then we also love teaching others about what we are. So we can often be found at community outreach events, talking to everyone, kids like you guys or adults, answering their questions about why sharks are important and really. So it's great being an intern here at American Shark Conservancy. So let me go to the next slide. So Hannah, I'm gonna share my screen now. Okay. All right, one moment. All good? Can you see my screen? Okay. All right, there you go. So this is us at American Shark Conservancy. We're interning, we're helping out with kids, we do little talks. It is really, really fun. So we're gonna talk about shark parts today. So when I say shark parts, I wanna make sure everyone knows what I'm talking about when I say shark. Sharks are a type of fish that has a skeleton made out of cartilage. Your ears. So everyone can wiggle your nose and wiggle your ears. That's kind of how sharks feel like. So give them a little wiggle now, and can you tell they're more bendy than the bones in your fingers or arms? So sharks have been around for more than 450 million years. I don't know about you, but I haven't been alive for 450 million years. So that's a really long time. So they survive 5 major extinction levels in different events, which means they can become really good at what they do. So they know what they're doing. They're surviving through all major events. They're even surviving through the coronavirus. Have you heard of a shark getting it? And some different parts of the sharks are the eyes, the nose, the mouth, and the ears, and the legs. Wait, do sharks have legs? Do you see sharks walking on the land? No, I don't see sharks walking on the land. So how do they swim around and do little things like that? So some parts are the same and some are definitely different. But most of these external features are shared by 500 species of sharks. I had no idea that there was 500 species of sharks when I was little. I thought it was just a white shark and that's it. The biggest shark, the whale shark, that can be as big as a school bus and swims around in tropical oceans, to a little lantern shark that only grows to be a few inches long and lives in the deep, dark parts of the ocean. These are all little different types of sharks, and they all share the same parts. They all have a snout, a nose, a mouth, some gills, some different types of fins. We'll talk about all these different shark parts throughout today's talk. So if you have any questions, we ask that you or someone who may be able to type for you, go ahead and ask those questions in the chat and we can answer. get around, and they help them get around. The pectoral, which is the pair of fins on either side of the shark's bodies, create lift in the water and helps them steer around in their environment. So it kind of helps them move around and swim through the ocean. They're shaped and function like airplane wings. You know how airplane wings let the airplanes go around in the sky? Same thing with the water and the ocean with the sharks. The tail control the roll of the sharks, keeping them from tipping too far left or too far right. The caudal fin, or the tail fin, moves side to side and pushes the shark towards the water, providing thrust. Does anyone know the difference between a shark's caudal fin and a dolphin's caudal fin? Anyone? So the shark's caudal fin moves left and right. The dolphin goes up and down. So that's how some scientists can tell the difference if they see a shark in the water or a dolphin in the water. And can you tell the difference between a caudal fin and a nurse shark? The great white shark is very muscular at the base, which is at the bottom of the fin. And so there's a really good efficient, it's a really good efficient predator, and it can chase really fast fish like tuna. And this caudal fin allows the sharks to be very fast. The nurse shark is shaped very differently. The top half of the fin, so the top of the fin of the nurse shark, is really long, and it's much lower, which is almost not even there. The nurse shark doesn't need a fast fish, so their tails aren't designed for speed, which is why a white shark is way faster than a nurse shark. So that's the two little differences in the nurse shark and a white shark's caudal fin. So shark snout and noses. So the snout of a shark is called a rostrum. That's kind of a weird name, right? Rostrum. And the nostrils are called nares. And under the little dots you see under the shark's nose, if you look at the bottom picture, the dark. Did I say that super fast? Ampule Lorenzini, I can't say that. So what is that? That's really weird, right? So the snout of a shark is supported by a skeletal part called the rostrum. You can see them from the pictures, they come in all different sorts of shapes and sizes. The hammerhead has a wide snout in the shape of a hammer. That's how they get their name, the hammerhead. The great white sharks have snouts in the shape of a cone, kind of like a pointy tip at the end. The tiger shark has a very so the nostrils are flaps that take in the smell all around them. So they breathe in and they take in all the smell through the nostrils. They can be simple or very complex, which means they can smell little things, or complex, like they can smell a lot of things from different miles around. Like in bottom dwelling sharks, they are very complex. And all the little black dots, like I mentioned, is called Ampullae Lorenzini, and they're actually sensitive detectors off by living creatures. So that's what makes sharks really different and really cool, is the different senses that they can detect, and they look at the electromagnetic pulses of the sharks, which is cool. All right, so shark's mouth. I'm sure you've seen all of these pictures of a great white shark in Jaws and its mouth open, and you're like, man, I've only seen a great white shark's mouth, but I've never seen different types of shark's teeth. So mostly because it's where the teeth are. Shark mouth and teeth are designed for specific prey. So the lemon shark and the hammerhead have different mouths and teeth that are designed to grab fish and eat them whole. The great white shark, like the shark in Jaws, a wider mouth with teeth designed for cutting, because they like to go after prey that is way too big for them to eat in one bite, so they have to cut off little chunks. And the nurse shark has two barbels on their upper lip. So it's the top right corner, that's the shark. You see the barbels on their upper that may cover their prey. I think that's really cool with sharks like that. They're swimming around through the sand and they can look up shells and look for prey. So that's kind of cool. All right, so for shark eyes, they're designed based on where they like to spend most of their time. So sharks spend most of their time in mucky or turbid water. Sharks have smaller eyes, but those that live in water with good visibility, like in the deep ocean, and they rely on them to find their prey, usually have big, large eyes. Their eyes can be very, very fragile and really important to survival without hands to cover them. So some sharks, like this tiger shark, if you look up at the top left corner, they have a nictitating membrane. And what that basically means is it acts like an eyelid to protect its eyes. So in the top picture, the membrane's starting to come up from the bottom, and picture. So this is done by reflex only. They can't choose to open or close their eyes. Like we can choose to open and close our eyes. Sharks can't do that. So white sharks don't have this eyelid, so they protect their eyes by rolling them back in the socket to expose a really tough skin on the back side. No, they're not jet black. They don't have jet black, creepy eyes. But as you can see, the makeup, which is at the bottom right corner, has a kind of a blue tint to them. And an oceanic white tip in the upper right has a shiny eye. So sharks' eyes have a special layer of cells in the back of their eye that allows them to use any light that's available to them, which lets them be really active in low light. So we're going to look a little bit in the different parts of a shark's ears as well. And it's really different. It's pretty similar to our ears. So sharks don't have outer ear. It's designed a lot like ear, and they have accurate hearing. So their hearing is really, really good. It's sensitive to low frequency and sounds. So this is kind of a picture. I'm not going to read all the different like sacculus and lagina and things like that, but just so you guys can kind of look at the different parts of a shark's ears. And they don't have the outer ears like we do, but they're small holes. It looks, and it, well, it doesn't look, but it's designed kind of like what ours do. So they have pretty accurate hearing or to low frequency sounds. So it's kind of cool looking at the inner ear of a shark. And now we're going to talk about shark gills. And let's see. So shark gills usually comes in 5, 6, or 7 pairs. Can you see this? That's good. Thumbs up? Okay, cool. All right, so another part of a shark that we do not have are gills. And if like you and me, we like to swim around and snorkel, I wish I didn't have to take a tank down in the bottom of the ocean and have to breathe out of a tank. But I bet you guys wish she also had gills. So gill slits are always in pairs, and they're located on either side of a shark's head. All modern sharks, ones that have evolved recently, have 5 pairs of gill slits. And species that evolved a long, long time ago have 6 or 7 pairs. Can you count how many are in the cow shark in the bottom picture? So the bottom right picture, we have 1, 2, 5. All right, so the species has 7, wait, I pointed at the wrong one. So this species has 7 pairs of gill slits. On the inside of the gill slits are arches that support gill filaments. So water goes into the mouth and out over the filaments that pick up the oxygen molecules in the blood. This is how they breathe. The water goes in the mouth, out through the gills, and that's how they breathe. We breathe in, breathe out through our mouth or our nose. It's kind of how the shark gills work. So filter feeders like whale sharks, which is at the bottom, the top right corner, they have adaptations on the inside of their gills. They have fine teeth-like structures that capture the plankton they suck into their mouths when they go up in lots of water. So that's really cool. All right, so I think that is it on my part. Hannah, are you gonna take over now?
Hi guys, yes, absolutely. Deborah, thank you so much for talking today about shark parts. Ooh, let me get rid of the dog real quick. Shush. Okay. I think I'm seeing some really good questions come through here. A lot of chatter about dogs. I mean, dogs are pretty cool, but we happen to think that sharks are actually a lot cooler. But we've gotten some other really good questions. So if you guys think of any, I see a hammerhead shark. There's a fluffy hammerhead shark one I see someone has. That's so adorable. So basically, I'm going to answer some of those questions. If you guys think of anything, anything else that you'd love to know about sharks, shark parts, any myths that you think, any silly stories about sharks, go ahead and put them in the chat, and then we can talk about what your questions are. So one of the first ones I got, let me pull this up real quick. So one of the first questions we got was, how do you feed sharks without them biting you? That's a really good question. So it's really important to be very careful around sharks. We do spend a lot of time in the water with them, and sometimes people do actually offer a little bit of food, but there's a lot of ways that you can be very, very careful when doing that. People take a lot of time to be very well trained in how to do it without getting hurt. And first of all, it's just because the shark's teeth are so sharp, you actually have to be really careful. So some people use what's called chainmail suits, which is a really tightly knit chain glove or a whole suit. So if you look up someone called Christina Zanato, you can look her up online. She does beautiful videos and imagery of her with her Caribbean reef sharks, and she's able to feed them very safely because of that suit. And it's really also the pressure, because their jaws, their muscles are really, really strong around their heads. So the chainmail keeps you safe from the teeth going through, but they're so strong that they can still hurt you by the pressure of their bite. So we don't recommend people feeding if they're not really, really well trained. There are some courses out there that people can take to become a shark feeder. So we just need to make sure everybody's being super safe around those really sharp teeth. Let's see, we have some other ones coming in. What do you feed sharks to fill their bellies? Well, every single different kind of shark, like we saw the pictures of the different teeth. So a lot of sharks like different food. So if your teeth are really sharp and pointy, you like to eat fish that you can just grab whole. If your teeth have like little notches on them, then you probably like to cut through things. So you're going to be like a white shark going after something like a seal. So when people feed sharks, a lot of the times, because it's safer, you drop a piece of food in front of the shark and let the shark eat it without their hand being nearby. So it'll be something hopefully from their natural diet, like a fish. But we definitely don't feed them in any kind of way to give them nutrition. It's just to get them a little bit closer. So it's always just a little tiny snack. Do shark teeth stop growing? That's a good question. So shark teeth actually do stop growing in size once they reach a certain size, but they actually have that conveyor belt. So once they lose that tooth, another one replaces it. So you know how you had your baby girl, I don't know, over time, and the tooth fairy hopefully came every once in a while when you put it under your pillow? Well, sharks would be millionaires because they lose their teeth all the time. All right, ooh, we're getting good ones. How do sharks give live birth? So sharks, having been around for 450 million years, they've come up with a whole bunch of ways and strategies to live. And so some shark species do give birth to live young, and others do lay eggs. How far away? Oh, that's a good kind of myth we hear a lot of times. Have you guys all heard about how much a shark can smell a drop of blood from 1,000,000 miles away? I think we've probably all heard that one before. So it doesn't quite work like that. If you drop a little bit of blood in the water, what happens is that drop actually dissipates. So all of the molecules that make up that blood actually start to spread out and become really diluted. And what the sharks can do is actually smell tiny, tiny particles in their nose. And they're just really efficient, really good smellers. But if you did that and the current was going the other way, they wouldn't pick up on it just because it dropped in the ocean. They actually have to come across those molecules.
You can back up a little.
How would sharks react if you or a fish messed with its gills? Well, the gills are unlike other fish. They're very fleshy and not very well protected. On most fish, like a bony fish, they actually have a plate that covers their gills because the gills are actually very, very vulnerable and very delicate. So they don't like to have their gills messed with. Sharks can heal from a lot. You can see some pictures online of a great white that bit into the other shark's gills and it looked all ragged and terrible. So that probably didn't go down very well. Like if your older brother or something, you know, punched you in the arm, but they were actually able to survive. So they're actually really, really tough. All right. So we have the questions of the smallest shark in the world. So I think it's somewhere with the dwarf lantern shark, which only gets to a max about 8 inches. I did get a good question about, do sharks go to the bathroom? And yes, they absolutely do. So they'll eat something and they take a really long time to digest it. So they don't go to the bathroom very often, but they absolutely do. I've actually had a shark on deck that accidentally peed into my boot. So it does happen. Can a shark fall asleep without moving its fins? So if you guys have ever seen some of the sharks, like a nurse shark that rests on the bottom, so that shark they don't necessarily sleep like we do. They don't curl up for a good 8 hours in our comfy beds, but they are actually able to reduce their activity. And for the sharks that have to keep swimming forward, that's really great because their body kind of keeps them going forward, which means that they can get oxygen to their gills. But some of them can rest on the sea floor and just pump the water, and they kind of let their brains do a little bit of a nap. All right. Oh boy, I knew we were going to get one about the megalodon. So the megalodon is an extinct shark, which means it doesn't exist anymore. But we think, from what we know, it probably looked a lot like the great white and was really, really big. But other than that, we don't know too much about it. But I'm sure you guys have seen. I'm sure you guys have seen some pictures of them, and their jaws are actually really, really big. So it would have been impressive to see, but they don't exist anymore. Oh, this is a good biology question. So how long is their gestation period? And if you guys don't know what the word gestation period is, it means how long are they pregnant, basically. And again, with 500 species, that can range, but they actually, for fish, they have really long gestation periods in general. Some of them can be up to 2 years. So ask your mom if she would like to be pregnant for 2 years. I don't think she's gonna say yes. Yes. And they can have a handful of pups, so 3 or 4 pups, or they can have hundreds of pups. So it just depends on the species. Okay, let me grab 1 or 2 more questions from our emails. Can sharks live in rivers and lakes? So there are some sharks, like the bull shark, that can actually be in fresh water. So they're able to change their kidney functions to be able to handle the salt in the ocean and then no salt in the fresh water. So yes, they absolutely can. How many types of sharks are there in the world? Like we said, scientists like to argue about this. And basically, we've come up with the idea that there's about 500 or so different species. And does the amount of gills have any other impact? No, they basically seem to breathe and handle the oxygen exactly the same way, whether they have 5, 6, or 7 gills. That's a good one. Why are they called pups? I actually don't know. A lot of the times baby animals get these kind of names assigned to them, and for some reason we get, if it's a baby shark, we call it a pup. So what ocean has the most types of sharks in it? Well, that's kind of a hard question to answer because I don't think we really know, but if you guys look at the globe, and there's a place called the Coral Triangle, and basically the Indian Ocean and the Pacific Ocean in a certain area has highest level of biodiversity. If you guys know what biodiversity is, it just means the highest number of different species. So it's the most diverse. So that might be a good place to start looking to see if that might have the most number of sharks in it. Who would win if a great white went against a blue whale? It's a pretty good question. Blue whales are pretty big. So I don't know if you guys have heard some of the reports that orca whales are actually impacting some of the great whites down in South Africa. So that's not really their biggest prey. Is the orcas' biggest threat to the great whites are actually the orcas. I don't think a blue whale would even notice if a great white came up against it. That's just my guess. Oh, you guys are saying blue whale. Yeah, I think you're right. I think blue whales wouldn't even notice. Who would win, a stingray or a nurse shark? I guess it depends on what you mean by win. Doesn't look like most of the nurse sharks go after the stingrays, so they actually probably avoid them at all costs because the nurse sharks' mouths are made for sucking and crushing things. Wouldn't be really good for a stingray because then they'd probably get zapped. All right. Let's see, I got one more question from the emails, I think. No, we're good on that. Couple more. Here we go. Do they hang out? Do they hang out in groups or hunt in groups? Well, we're almost out of time, so this will probably be our last question. So sharks don't often, they like to hang out in groups, and most likely it's going to be the same gender, like the boys hang out together, the girls hang out together, which I totally understand. And usually the same ages. So it's almost like if you were going into class, most of the people in your first and second grade classes and fourth grade are all the same age. So that's what we kind of call them, age classes. So a lot of the sharks that like to hang out in groups, it's usually the same gender and the same age class. And so they like to hang out in groups. I think it just makes life a little bit easier when you've got friends. You can find food. They don't necessarily cooperatively hunt, so they won't hold down food for another shark to eat. They're kind of selfish, so they're gonna probably gobble it up, but they actually kind of share a little bit of information among each other and be like, hey, let's go north, it's a little bit chilly, so they all move north. So it's kind of like working together as a friend group, but also being pretty independent at the same time, which is why we think sharks are pretty cool. Taking time. Okay. All right. I think they're going to actually kick us off in a second. But I just want to say a huge thank you to Deb for giving us a great rundown of shark parts. Thanks, Deb. And we want to say thank you guys so much for joining us today. Huge shout out to all the Girl Scouts with your STEMapalooza, which, by the way, is the coolest idea ever. I wish you guys all the best luck. If you guys come up with any other questions, you or your parents can email us or send us a message on Facebook. If you think of anything really great, but they're counting down for a couple more minutes. So yeah, Girl Scouts rock. Thank you guys, and let's do it again soon. What do you guys think? Can we get a clap? All right. Awesome, guys. Thank you so much. Thanks, Deb. Thank you. We will see you guys soon. Bye. Stay safe. Thank you.